Welcome back viewers, ladies, gentlemen, non-binaries and anyone with ears or other sound detection organs. Hope you enjoy. We are continuing with Going Native, written by Uncle Sealing. Going Native, Chapter 46. First technician Melda Tozo was a whistler. She used to do it because she was bored. Then, in the academy, she had learned that it bothered other cadets, so she really took to whistling. Now, though, she just couldn't help it. She whistled as she opened the door to her apartment, whistled as she closed it, turned on the light, walked into her living room, sat down her bag, and Melda stopped whistling. It turns out it is very hard to maintain a jaunty tune when a huge woman in a featureless mask and combat armor seems to just appear in front of you and points a pistol in your face. The room had been empty. She turned, put down her bag, and stood straight up right into the path of the gun. Melda opened her mouth to speak. "Don't do that." A young Shilvati woman in a long coat with her white hair pulled back into a ponytail and an Inspector of the Interior badge hanging from around her neck, stepped out of Melda's bedroom and walked slowly towards her. "You're going to talk to us, but not yet. You need to fully understand the gravity of your situation." The woman in the long coat took a moment to reach into her pocket, pulling out an omnipod and fiddling with the screen. "I promised our specialist that I would play this for you. It should make things go a little more smoothly." A little beep sounded, and a clear, bright voice filled the room. It seemed overly chipper, and to Melda's ears, well trained by time on this planet, it was obviously a human male. "Interesting. Hi there. I suppose you're wondering why an inspector for the interior and a very large woman holding a gun are standing in front of you? Before you consider running, please remember that there are other scary people standing behind you. How did they get there? Were they always there? Did they follow you? Who knows? That's not important right now." Melda turned her head slightly and, sure enough, two more armed, masked soldiers were behind her, ready to shoot her in the back of the head. "What is important, however, is the mess you are in. You see, it has come to our attention that you are the absolute fucking cunt who tried to kill 2 people in a military hospital. I say tried because, of course, you fucked it up. This is good, because it means you might actually survive the next few hours. If you had killed your targets, the 2 people in front of you would likely have just strangled you to death the moment you walked in the door." The woman in the long coat, the inspector, paused the audio for a moment. "I would actually interrogate you first regardless." The large one in the mask just shrugged silently. A little beep from her omnipod and the cheerful voice continued. "Okay, so let's work backwards. Your little fireball trick didn't work because I yanked the power cell before it could go off. You're probably thinking something like, but I used an ultrasonic welder on the case, you couldn't have opened it up, right?" To be fair, Melda was thinking exactly that. "Well, this is what happens when you're an amateur, I suppose. I just smashed it open. Much faster." Now Melda was really starting to worry. She had been concerned, but she was also confident that she left no incriminating evidence behind. The fact that they managed to find her at all meant that wasn't quite true, but still. "Oh, and I know the inspector with you would love to point this out, but I'm going to beat her to the punch. Since you turned that power cell into an incendiary device, you're technically on the hook for trying to firebomb a military hospital on top of the attempted murders." Oh. Oh shit, he was right. You could definitely make that argument. Fuck, this was bad. But wait, maybe we can't pin this on you. You wiped down all the components and made sure there weren't any hairs or eyelashes or anything in there. There can't be any hard evidence. And now Melda knew with complete certainty that she was screwed. That sing-song, teasing voice on the pad was just mocking her. That custom gate array you were using to spoof the update server's authentication is a real beauty. You probably just had to take it out of its little case and just admire it when you got it. Of course she had. How could she not? And you made sure everything was clean after assembly. No matter what this mysterious voice said, she was no amateur. Melda had cleaned everything with an organic solvent that would destroy any hand oils or DNA traces. But you forgot to wipe off the underside of your chips before you soldered them down. There was a thumbprint the size of the goddamn moon on the bottom of that gate array. Plus enough partials that I was able to assemble 3 more matches. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Have fun cooperating with those scary ladies. Oh, and go fuck yourself with a cactus for trying to kill my friend. The inspector held up her omnipod so Melda could see a picture of a bulbous green plant covered with sharp, 5-centimeter long spines. He sent this picture to go with the message. I guess that's what a cactus is. Looks very uncomfortable. Now then, I suppose we know where we stand. I am Inspector Jelsi Chelza, and with me is a squad of Death's Head commandos. I am going to ask you questions, and you are going to answer them. You will answer them completely and honestly because it's your duty as a servant of the Imperium to assist me in my investigation, and because if you don't I am going to ask again much, much harder. When we are done, you will be transferred into the custody of internal security with all of the information I currently have and whatever you tell me now. This will also include a formal petition for leniency if you are good and cooperate. If not, well, I am pretty sure execution is the standard punishment for trying to blow up a hospital. I'd have to double check. Of course I do side work. You'd be hard-pressed to find a technician in the interior who doesn't. There's always a cute guy someone wants a phone tapped on, a tracking bug one noble house needs made to spy on another, something. It's good work and it pays well. Agent Elent. She was one of my regular customers. Always had something for me to do and she always paid above the going rate. When she came to me in a rush and told me she would give me 15,000 credits if I could come up with a way to kill 2 people in a hospital, though. No, of course I didn't want to do it. I'm no killer. I tried to explain that, but then she got, scary. I got the distinct impression that I had to either get rid of the 2 targets or she was going to get rid of me. The challenge itself was kind of interesting, too. She had someone on the inside who got her the medical records, so I knew that both targets were hooked up to dispensers. After that it was simple. Her inside person? No idea. Probably a doctor or maybe a nurse. Could be a janitor, I guess. Really no way to be sure. I have no idea how the pad ended up plugged in. I just supplied the equipment. I assumed the hardwired diagnostic ports would be left enabled, they always are. I mean, yeah, there was always something she wanted. Aside from this, though, I made a few dozen spoofing chips for her to bypass biometric safeties on weapons. Lots of them. Not just shill weapons, either. I don't know what she was doing with them all. Lots of assorted spying gear. Bugs and trackers and the like. A lot of those were built into human stuff. Why would I keep records? I mean, I know how illegal a lot of this stuff is. I might be able to put something together for you, though. I can look through my parts orders and see if it jogs my memory. Yeah. Of course. I'll start now. Full disclosure. I'll tell you anything you want. Fuck no, I'm not loyal to that bitch. I don't want to die. Keller sighed and I blinked the comms inside her mask. Now that the target was talking, this was getting boring. Jelsi and Melda were sitting at the technician's kitchen table, going through the woman's purchase history, letting the parts orders refresh the scared woman's memory on various jobs she had worked on. They already had the names of about a dozen different people in the interior who would have contracted some sort of illegal work. What's the status out there? Nobody coming or going? Considering how many bugs we removed from her apartment, I'd expect someone to have come to check it out by now. Well, stay vigilant. Keller let out another deep sigh, taking care to not let it show on the other side of her mask. Right now she was playing the role of a big scary enforcer, and it wouldn't do well to seem bored. I'm sorry for dragging you girls out for something so trivial. It's nice to get out and stretch our legs. Sad there's no cute guys this time, though. Yeah, how are those boys doing? A chorus of questioning noises came from the rest of the squad. Keller had to fight to keep the smirk out of her voice before she responded. The injured one is recovering, though I understand he's going to need a lot of physical therapy. Understandable. That surgery was pretty gross. I've never seen somebody hollowed out like that without getting hit by a rocket-propelled grenade first. That was not a visual Keller needed. The other males are all doing well. That tiny one, Samuel, is the one who recorded the message we played earlier. When we're done here, I'm going to bring him those bugs we found and see what he can make of them. I'm sure I could make something out of him. The whole squad laughed over the comms. It was nice having Keller's team back together, even if they were just goofing around at this point. Unfortunately, events like these were essentially the only time they got to catch up. Keller had sacrificed much to become a Death's Head commando. The training had been grueling, even worse for her than most. To be a proper commando, you had to be more than the toughest, strongest, baddest ass in town. Keller could track like a native on 10 different worlds, kill with any improvised weapon or her bare hands, pilot a shuttlecraft, and run faster and for longer than most professional athletes. Unfortunately, Keller had what was, for the Imperium's most elite killers, a nearly crippling disability. She was conspicuous. Keller was huge, even for a Shilvati female. She was strong, fast, and deadly, but she was also obvious. The rest of her team could sneak anywhere, blend in. An extra janitor working on a floor or an accountant hurriedly moving from one job to another drew no attention. Keller always did. This had come to a head during an assassination attempt on Jemsai's father. Keller had been posing as a retainer for the family and resolved the situation, but couldn't exactly blend in afterwards. It was obvious that the woman, well over 2.5 meters tall and covered in blood, was somehow involved. In the end, Keller had to give up her career. It didn't hurt as much as she expected. Jemsai had become enamored with her during her weeks undercover, and the amount of publicity actually helped her beloved commandos. She became a figurehead of sorts. A career was fabricated that matched the public's perception of what a Death's Head commando should be. She was a massive, lethal death machine, and that's how people thought of the DHCs. None of her companions fit that mold. Every one of them could remove their masks and vanish on any one of 1,000 worlds. They had nesting layers of cover identities, and their real credentials had long ago been burned away entirely. They all worked for House Chelza in some capacity now, but not even Jemsai knew who they were. They were retired, only coming out for fun little projects like hunting down rogue interior agents. Keller snapped out of her reminiscing to realize that the rest of her squad was still debating the merits of the 4 males they had briefly met at the hospital. I don't know, that Helcom one looked cute. Very innocent. I hate having to break in a virgin. That human gave off the right vibe. Plus he's small, which means you can really toss him around. And since he's a human, you don't have to worry about breaking him. Keller had a sudden thought. She muted the conversation and called Samuel with another eye click. As soon as he answered, Keller pushed pleasantries aside. Sam, I need you to do something for me right now. That cannon Marin carries around, can you get a hold of it and take the group apart? We're looking for aftermarket modifications. Something that would disable the friend/foe authentication for firing. I'm on it. Keller held tight while she heard Samuel clatter through a toolbox followed by the rhythmic pounding of hurried footsteps. Finally, after a few minutes of listening to Samuel's heavy breathing, a chime sounded on the comm and an image popped up in the heads-up display. It showed the weapon half disassembled. Keller wasn't an electronics specialist, but she knew weapons and the bypass circuit was obvious. Is that what you're looking for? It is. Thank you, Sam. We're going to have a serious conversation about this later. The human let out a deep sigh. Yeah, I figure we will. The call ended with a click. Keller's hand moved out in a flash and slammed on the table, startling Melda and Jelsai. She turned to the terrified technician and Keller's voice, modulated by her mask, was deep and cold. Ever work on a bypass for a Bancroft XL12? The woman was visibly shaking as she looked into the featureless mask. She was cowering, slumped in her chair. Yeah, I did one, I think. Keller's hand came up and the woman squeaked in terror before realizing the hand contained an Omnipod and not her imminent death. Is this your work? She examined the picture critically. Yeah, it is. At least it looks like mine. This was getting interesting again. End of chapter. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss any episode and do all the other YouTube stuff. Visit and support the author, and I'll see you next time. If you didn't enjoy, comment on what I can do better. And as usual, have a wonderful day.